Welcome back to CrimeDoor TV. I'm Sydney Schofield. It's time now to take a trip back in crime history. On December 16, 1989, a package arrived at the Alabama home of Helen and Robert Vance Sr. Robert, who was a federal court judge, thought it was from a colleague of his. He set it on the kitchen table with Helen across from him and started to open it. Gunpowder and nails exploded from the box. Robert died instantly. Helen was seriously injured. A nail had pierced her liver. Then, 2 days later in Georgia, civil rights lawyer Robert Robinson opened a package that had been left on his desk. Like Vance's package, it exploded and Robinson died hours later. More packages had been sent, but they were either found during routine x-rays of the mail or they weren't opened, which ultimately saved lives. As the FBI started its investigation, an agent with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, or the ATF, realized the bombs looked familiar. He had actually seen the design 17 years earlier when a Georgia woman was injured after opening an unmailed package she found at her home. The box was addressed to an auto dealership that had repossessed her husband's car. Walter Leroy Moody denied creating the bomb that injured his wife, but he was convicted and sentenced to 6 years in prison. After making the connection, the FBI started to look into Moody, his purchases, contacts, and phone calls. The court allowed for surveillance at his home and while in jail, which, along with other evidence, helped the FBI eliminate other suspects and determine that Moody was the person who sent the explosive packages. Revenge was the motive, and Vance was the main target. The other packages, which had civil rights connections, were sent to make police think the motive was racism. Moody was tried in both federal and state courts and convicted on 71 charges related to Vance's murder and the other explosive packages. He was sentenced to serve consecutive life sentences without parole before he was sentenced to death by an Alabama circuit court. Moody was executed in April of 2018. Now, despite her injuries, Vance's wife Helen survived the explosion. She lived a long life before passing away in 2010. Vance's oldest son, Bob Vance Jr., followed in his father's footsteps and went on to become a circuit judge in Jefferson County, Alabama.